The Denver Broncos as a franchise, when you look at the power and the status and the power ranking and how they fit in and where they are in terms of the direction and the future, it's a new low. And they are right now a complete and utter embarrassment. And when I say new low, you look at the everything throughout the history of the franchise, the lean years of the 60s, the blowouts of the Super Bowls, the Josh McDaniels fiasco, the quarterback struggles since their last Super Bowl, where the Broncos are right now, with what Nate Hackett has left behind, is the lowest this franchise has been. What Nate Hackett and Russell Wilson have done in the 11 months since they came to Denver have just been shocking and horrendous and embarrassing and grotesque all in one place. Then this thought comes from someone who is shocked. I thought the Denver Broncos offseason plan was brilliant. Bring in a new coach, an offensive-minded coach, to jolt the offense after the failures of the previous 6 years under John Fox and Vic Fangio. Bring in a Hall of Fame type quarterback in Russell Wilson, who I evaluated as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL as of the trade. No quarterback did more with less offensive line help over the last 5 seasons. Thanks John Schneider, thanks Pete Carroll. And you saw the entire Denver Broncos season yesterday on Sunday, encapsulated in one game. A nationally broadcasted game against the Rams, the defunct, dead LA Rams, without their starting quarterback, their superstar wide receiver, this generation's greatest defensive player, and a whole slew of other injuries. And they got ran out of the stadium. 51-14 was the final score. 51-14. Now, when I was preparing these remarks after the game on Sunday, when I was preparing my takes, I said Nate Hackett was going to be fired at the end of the year, and he was cooked, and there's no recovering from this. And honestly, he's never going to be a head coach again. He refused to bring in the concepts that Russell Wilson really liked, completely different from what Brian Daboll did with Daniel Jones, and he ran a completely different offense, one that was that didn't work for Russ, one that didn't work for the receivers. And I really liked the receivers, but I thought the injuries early on were a problem. And the offense that Nate Hackett ran with Aaron Rodgers was one with a strong ground attack and relying on Aaron Rodgers to win games wasn't going to work with Russell Wilson. And we see why. And also, let's think of the play calls that Nate Hackett did in the big spots in the playoffs in the NFC Championship game against Tampa Bay a couple years ago at Lambeau Field. The NFC Divisional playoff, they only had like one real scoring drive on that play, and that was early on. His play calling allowed the 49ers to hang on in that instance. And as a result, the Packers are, the Broncos are dead. They have a lot of salary cap money space tied up to Russell Wilson over the next 6 years, including $50 million each year from 2025 to 2028. You don't have your picks in the first 2 rounds of the draft next year. Because as part of the Russell Wilson trade that sent Noah Fant and company to Seattle, and you have a case where there could be some coaches out there that are probably going to shy away from the job. Now, reports are that Dan Quinn is the front runner to be the next head coach, and we'll see exactly how he translates over to a head coach. He's been a heck of a defensive coordinator for New York. For Dallas over the last 2 years, they've been number 1 in turnover in takeaways the last 2 seasons. So I think this is a chance for the Broncos to reset their franchise, focus on the long term, focus on finding someone who can create a culture, and take it from there. And I saw a list of coaches who the Denver Broncos interviewed, and I thought Nate Hackett deserved to have a chance to be a head coach, and I thought I really liked the hire. But there were 10 coaches who the Broncos interviewed in that first round, and they had Kevin O'Connell, who's now the Vikings head coach and likely coach of the year, Kellen Moore, Dan Quinn, Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, Packers quarterback coach Luke Getsy, Patriots linebacker coach Jared Mayo, Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon, Brian Callahan for the Bengals, and Eric Bieniemy for Kansas City. Now, chances are we're going to see some of these names again. And Dan Quinn especially is probably going to be the leader in the clubhouse for the Broncos job. And I would expect Brian Callahan to be on that list. I would expect Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to get some interviews this year. I don't know if he's going to be a head coach, but that's it where I see these happening. Maybe Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator for Dallas. We'll see. We'll see exactly how that goes and how he works into the ego of Russell Wilson. Oh, but all in all, the Denver Broncos had an embarrassing, pathetic season. And the Denver Broncos, in my mind, had the single biggest underachieving season that I could remember in quite some time. A massive, unbelievable, spectacular underachievement is the way to describe the 2022 Denver Broncos. And it all started and finished with Nathaniel Hackett.